My purpose and my destiny on this planet is to share with people what I've learned about this thing called happiness. It's not about what happens out there, it's an internal foundation. But enough with that. I have been sharing with people for 4 decades, but I have never received the reviews and the type of reviews that said, you have not, I don't want to say changed my life, but changed my perspective on how to view a certain situation. The reviews that I've received, sometimes if I really sit and read them, bring me to tears. And I mean that sincerely, because for me, I am bringing value. And that's what those reviews have done for me. I can't say enough good things about the app. And how the hell did Paul Votto get Votto for a referral code? And I have to put in a number. But anyway, did I say that out loud?
Quien ese hombre holding up the bottle? Look a little closer, cigar and Moscato. An actor in improv coming from Chicago. Outdoor, make way for Paul Votto.
Welcome to Paul Votto Presents, where we are live on Fireside. I'd like to welcome Jason Hill, the founder of the Owwll App. Jason, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today and tell us about what's going on. Whoa, what is that, man? That looks great.
That's our beautiful logo. It is Owwll Week. We are celebrating with all the community and we're giving back. We are partnering with the organization called Place of Hope, and all revenue from our platform, all these calls that are being made is you donate into Place of Hope because they share a very similar mission that we do. We want to impact millions of lives. It all comes back to knowledge, wisdom, and having the right people around you to support you. That's the goal of this week. We're going to have live events every single day. We launched the Owwll podcast this morning with the CEO of Place of Hope, Charles Bender. He shared knowledge to the audience that was listening live. And of course, it's going to be on podcast apps. And we are going to do Clubhouse Room, Zoom meetings. So anyone who does not know how to use the platform is welcome to join all these things. It's absolutely free. And you get to meet awesome people like yourself, Paul. You were on there today. See Rebecca in the crowd. What's up, Rebecca? You got a shout out on today's podcast. You got to listen in. I won't tell you when, but you did get a shout out. So did you, Paul? Yeah, I'm here to serve and answer questions about the platform and share any knowledge that anyone wants to learn about.
Jason, I've been wanting to interview you, find out more about you. I know we've spent some time together. You were gracious enough to host us down in Florida for PodFest, event for that talk. So thank you so much for having us and making this amazing platform. I definitely want to talk about that, but I want to hear a little bit about your background. At least that's the type of show I like to do, and I don't know how much time you have. Thank you for making me a part of day one on Owwll Week. I think it's so important. We'll really hit on the fact is what you're donating out of your pocket for Place of Hope and all that. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. If anyone in the audience has any questions, we'd love to bring you up. Right now, we're streaming to Twitch, to Facebook, to YouTube. Owwll is out there. And if you have any questions, whether it's Owwll's or if we have any expert questions, we can try to get them answered for you. Jason Hill.
I'm going to start by giving a tour of the office. We're always on audio apps, right? No one gets to see me. No one gets to see the office space, the Owwll HQ. Here's my two beautiful children right there. Got them in the photo. That's Weston, that's Kennedy. And here's the famous shrimp tank podcast for the shrimp tank, where we've done 200 plus in-person episodes. And right now it's run at the FEU College of Business, but our original studio in our office before COVID hit, they would come in here after their episode. And then if they were good, we'd let them sign the wall and put their favorite motivational quote on it. Today, we had Charles actually sign it. He's been on the shrimp tank. Can't see what he wrote. He said, take the high road. So as an example, he wrote, take the high road, because he realizes that sometimes it's just not worth fighting back and winning every single argument. So one of the nicest things I've done since moving to Florida and learned so much from other individuals is from getting to interview them on my podcast, The Shrimp Tank. Here's our beautiful motivational bar, which has Owwll swag right here. You see all the beautiful mugs right there. And we got a great coffee set up when I run out of, and then here's the famous original Shrimp Tank studio. We have now converted it as of today to the Owwll podcast studio. So anyone who wants to join us in person in South Florida when you're visiting, just like you did, Paul. You were on the shrimp tank, of course, but now you'll be able to jump in here when visiting. And our criteria is just that you're an Owwll expert. You've taken some calls on the platform, and we want you to share your wisdom about how advice matters, right? It's all about connecting, learning, and growing. And we look forward to sharing those stories. Like Rebecca has had over 200 calls on the Owwll platform, and there's stories that she has that need to be shared, right? The conversations that people have had with her, of course, and that knowledge she's been providing to others, but also her as an advice seeker. What made her just get that tingly feeling, right, when somebody gave her advice and how much it impacted her life. I know lots of times people don't see it. I get those tingles, right? We're all human, and people impact me by just literally being there, sending a text, or having a short conversation to keep me motivated to keep going to impact millions of lives. There's our little studio. There's the front end. And earlier today, we had Charles. Here's the Owwll podcast up there, of course. So that's a little bit behind the scenes. Obviously, I don't make a living doing a podcast. I'm not Joe Rogan. Behind the scenes, I've been a financial advisor for over 15 years. And we have a team in New York and South Florida. And that's given me the power to go out and build Owwll. At the end of the day, I did not raise capital to build Owwll. I self-funded it with an idea. At the point when COVID hit, I realized how cool it would be to be able to get advice through an audio app technology. Clubhouse did not exist at the time. I would always get in my car, and I was always confused why it was so hard to get in touch with people. I'll pick on Rebecca again. Why can't I just call Rebecca? It's so awkward. If I call her on the blue, she's like, who's calling me? Rebecca might accept that if she knew it was me. But most often, like, we all get like ignored. Someone is ringing us if they didn't have it on our schedule, they didn't text us in advance, hey, could I call you later today? And I thought that made no sense. And it's getting more and more difficult today to reach out to people on social media. A lot of us have biases based on our bios, right? If I have something listed on my profile, you'll immediately ignore what I'm writing. You'll immediately think, okay, this person's soliciting me for X, Y, or Z. But often it's just saying, hey, why don't you come on my podcast show and let me tell you about it? And that's a huge opportunity if they would let me in and have a conversation. But often they're making a quick intuition call based on the first message they receive. And if it's too long of a message, forget about it. People, of course, see a paragraph, then jump. It's too long, and immediately it looks like a spam message. So Owwll was created to bring back natural socialization in a safe environment where we could be professional, one-on-one, and have genuine conversations. Well, can pick your brain at the end of the day, giving advice, or you can use it 100% for networking. There's a lot of people on our platform just look at this as an opportunity to call people from $1 to $10 for a 10-minute call. You could sit on calls for 20, 30 minutes, and then naturally do what we did, Paul. What did we do? You came to Florida and we met one another and we created a valuable relationship. And now we're on a show together. And in the past, you've been on my show. We swapped a lot of things. We've met on Clubhouse and other forums like Zoom, for example. And that's what it's all about. It's about building relationships at the end of the day. And Owwll is just doing that at a faster pace. We're eliminating friction, right? We're eliminating a lot of the BS to get in touch with someone, and no scheduling, just immediate access to make a meeting. And the person who's an expert providing advice is they're setting a mechanism, a timer, right? They're saying, hey, I'm available. You want to chat? My price is listed. It's good for both parties that have huge audiences that might have millions of followers and just use it as a tool to help their fans get in touch with them. And all these fans will just know that if they want to talk to them one-on-one, best place is Owwll because safe and secure because no phone number is being provided, no email address. It's all in-app phone calls. And there's your review. So if you're a musician or a movie star and you just hate giving out personal information or you have trolls, well, that person will get kicked off Owwll. So there's so many mechanisms in place to keep our platform the safest out there compared to what we're seeing out there in the open market.
I've been there since somewhat the beginning, and I've seen the evolution, and it's amazing where it's not just any little thing. There's always something that can be either improved or changed and things that you don't even think about. And it's not inexpensive. It's very costly to do all this. So kudos for you for bootstrapping this and doing this on your own and bringing us along for this amazing ride.
Yeah, it's been fun and also sad at times. It always seems like a pretty picture on the front end when I'm on Clubhouse, I'm being interviewed or on other podcast shows. But the truth of the matter is I get a lot of criticism. And I've shared some of the criticism with others and they cheer me up because I know that for every 100 positive things that come out of this, there's also 20 negative things that no one ever sees. Email messages saying, delete my account. I could never see myself using it. There's zero value on this platform, right? One day I'll share all those and read them on my podcast to be funny. You're like, listen to this one, listen to that one. People today are quick to judge, especially when you're playing with their real money. We give people $10 bonuses as they sign up. So everyone in the crowd use Paul Votto's code. They get to Vato. It's very simple, right?
Does it have to be capitalized?
Does not need to be
Okay.
capitalized, and you are good. So put in Vato, you'll get $10 upon downloading it. Just go to owwll.com and there's download links. We're on Android and Apple, only in the United States and Canada currently. You'd be surprised. People don't use their $10 and the money expires and then they're getting upset at us. We handed them $10 for free, make some calls. We tell them that they have 15 days to use it. And then we even send a warning out the day before. But then when that day passes, you give something and you take it back, you get a lot of critics. Thankfully, we have almost all positive reviews in the App Store and Google Play Store, but it's the Owwll community that keeps me going, Paul. I would have thrown in the cards by now if it wasn't for the people sitting in the audience right now that say, this is amazing. You're going to impact millions of lives. And we are seeing impact mainly used for people 30 to 60 and more for networking, more for people with audiences to be able to engage with their audience. But what I'm starting to see is that college students could use this technology because they can get career advice and professors can actually add it to their curriculum to help enhance communication skills. We started seeing students engaging with professionals like yourself, Paul, and like Rebecca and Steven. I know they've taken some student calls. They just resonate when they get a college student calling them, the tingles in their arms saying, wow, I'm impacting the next generation, which is priceless. We all know there's a major problem on social media, right? Every college student, their number one fear is public speaking. Number two, it's making phone calls. They are not fans of using a cell phone to make a call. And we need new technology to help them. We were pushed one day when we gave public presentations in classrooms because we had no choice. If we didn't do it, we're going to fail the class. My goal is to prove that it worked in a college setting and then eventually move on to edit to more classrooms and more colleges. So that way we can impact more lives at the end of the day.
It was great. I received quite a few phone calls from students, and you're right. There is nothing finer than to give back and to contribute and go, you know what? Maybe I changed this person's life a little bit, even though I maybe talked to them about improv and the power of yes and using yes and for business, because they were all kids that were either starting a business or had a business or want to start a business. That's been my background, both as an actor and also as a business owner. It was great to connect with these kids. I left my rates down low so that I could get a few of those calls when they were calling. And that's the great thing about it right now. Like Jason said, you get $10, and most of us have our rates set anywhere from $1 for 10 minutes to $5 for 10 minutes. So you can jump on the app, try it out. No harm, no foul. You check it out. But more importantly, if you have something to offer, if you're a person with an expertise in a field, which I think a lot of us are, we're all great at one thing, then we would love to have you on the app so you can share your knowledge with the world and with the new generations. You've done a wonderful thing here, Jason. If anybody would like to come up, I also want to say hi to Rocksteady and Suzanne, who are in Down Under. They were there early, but unfortunately, right now in Australia, but I can't wait till it does so we can bring back our family of Rocksteady and Suzanne and bring them back into the fold.
You didn't hear it from me. You might be able to get in with an Android emulator. Not many people are going to take the effort to download an emulator program on their desktop computer and then try to get in. But you didn't hear from you. You might be able to get in there. You won't be able to make withdrawals, but you could go in there, download it, get $10, and then refer people and get more bonuses, and you could start building your reviews. So that way, one day when we do launch in other countries, you, of course, will have a bunch of reviews in your profile already, and then you're ready to go.
Well, that's such a great idea that you didn't hear from here. And of course, don't worry about it. I'd be more than happy to make those withdrawals for you folks. So no worries there. Lily, welcome to the stage.
Oh, thank you, Paul, and hello, Jason. I have a question. What would you recommend for someone like myself? I actually did join Owwll in the beta, and I don't even like speaking on the phone and getting used to this whole public speaking thing. So what would you recommend for someone like myself in regards to stepping ahead and applying to be in, or I think I'm an Owwll, right? To be an Owwll?
I think the best thing to do is to jump in there, apply to become an expert, and look for, I keep picking on you, Rebecca, look for people that have a lot of reviews and that they're easygoing in conversations. And then also calling people like Paul Votto, Steven, Kim Rose in the audience. I know all of them have a huge amount of positive reviews. I think all 5-star and all over 50 plus calls taken, plus 50 calls made. And start there. It's naturally what we're doing right now. The benefit of Owwll is no calls are being recorded. People love that feature. So you could be yourself. You don't have to worry that something's going to be taken out of content. All these other platforms are recording it. That's where we are on purpose. We're staying in our lane where people want to have natural conversations and not feel judged after asking for advice or giving advice, that they're not going to get clipped. They're a CEO of a company and then all of a sudden it's posted on social media. Look what Paul Otto said today, right? We want people to feel comfortable asking questions, and the experts provided that guidance as well. And then all of a sudden you'll build up your confidence over time. I myself am not comfortable in front of large groups typically. I've gotten better over time. I used to get very nervous, even Clubhouse. If you look back at some of the recordings when Clubhouse first started, and I had no choice but to start pitching people to join Owwll. And I would go into the startup clubs and get 1 minute to do a pitch, and they would come back critiquing that it wasn't for them. They had no time. They can't see themselves using this platform. And then over time, they'd start downloading it because they'd hear from others that had good experiences. So I think most people are not naturally good in front of audiences. I think people have said that's the number one fear most people have, is doing a presentation in front of a large audience. New technology has just made it that everyone's in front of audiences, Zooms, fireside chat, Clubhouses, but Owwll is like the first entryway, which, going back to the college students, why we think it's going to make such a big impact is they could go in one-on-one, know that the expert they're calling is getting a review. And if they do something inappropriate, they could leave a 1-star review. They could also report that individual. I was on Clubhouse today and people were using bad language, and there was some inappropriate stuff that was said during our Clubhouse room that normally I was like, that's not right. An Owwll, they would have got reported, and then we'll list it. Hey, this person, they're getting a warning. If it keeps happening, we're just not going to stand for that stuff. We're going to kick them off and violate our terms and conditions. So that's the benefit of Owwll. It's really a safe platform where if you're an expert, you don't have to accept every call. If you see someone is calling you that you had a bad experience with, hit reject and don't accept it. After a couple times you hit reject, they're not going to call you again. And if they keep calling you too much, then eventually report them. Say, hey, this person is trolling my profile. They won't stop calling me. I'm not abusing Owwll and rejecting all my calls. It's one specific person. And a lot of musicians have that issue. I've been reported by a couple of musicians that they do have some trolls, but that's the number one reason why they like Owwll, is that they have full control, not giving out their email and their cell phone number. These are all in-app phone calls. And there's so many protections in place. You have to start by filling out your profile, applying to become an expert. If you don't fill in your social media handles, you get rejected. I'm not going to accept you. And then if you fill out just one social media handle, but it's like your Facebook account and your 12 followers, you get rejected, because no one's going to call someone. They can't see into your Instagram account or LinkedIn account and see that you are established expert. And then if you have a 1-sentence bio, who's going to call you? You're just shooting yourself in the foot. So sometimes I'll let them go by. They look credible. But again, when they have a natural conversation with someone, people are going to know who's the real expert versus the ones trying to fake it. And inevitably, they're never going to get money out of the platform. You have to put your social security number in. There's real reported income. That's why we have to stay in the United States right now. So when an expert makes $10,000, we have to report that to the IRS. So they have to put the real credentials in, or they're never going to get paid. So there's no point in them spending hours and hours doing calls. They're not going to take withdrawal. So Lily, I think you're really going to be a fan of our platform for the safety and security features that are built into the plan, and also that no one's judging you. It's a one-on-one conversation, so no audiences.
Okay, thank you so much. I definitely learned a lot more, and a great way for me to start is making some calls and seeing how it all works. Okay, thank you so much and good luck.
It certainly is, Lily. And thank you for taking some time and coming up here. I've heard you speak. I think you're lovely and you're wonderful. You start out by making calls, but then once you apply to be an expert, you take some calls. And trust me, you have a voice that people can learn from. Thank you for sharing that. If anybody else would like to come up, by all means, please just raise your hand and come on up. Jason, so what's next for Owwll? I heard you're planning on doing another app.
Yeah, we wish. Most people are one and done when it comes to the app world. 99% of apps fail. And I understand why now, after going down this path. I didn't listen to anyone. I said, I'll be different. And now I recognize exactly what everybody was educating me on. The reason why most of them failed is it is very expensive to build and then very expensive to maintain, right? So very often people have enough money to build it, but then they don't realize they're on a timer clock. You have to get people into the app, download it. There's millions of apps in the App Store. Why will someone go into the App Store, provide their data over to your app to then sign in and then try it out? That's where most people fail. It's not because they don't have a good idea or technology. It's that they just can't get enough people into the app, and then they end up running out of money. That's the simplest way to go down why 99% of them fail. Simple. They're just on a clock, because once your developers leave, right, you can't shut it down like a website. Website could stay static. You don't have to make many changes. You can take your time to build it. But when it comes to an app, we have 8 developers behind the scenes. But if I take 4 of those developers off and shorten the team to 4, eventually then I have to bring 4 new back, and they don't understand the code. They don't understand what we built. And then we have to get them back up to speed. So it's really hard to shift developers. So you want to stick with the same team throughout the building process. And there's a lot of things going against you. You got Apple, Android devices, and they make changes. They make upgrades on their platform. So right when you're about to release something, you're like, wait a second, Apple just said we need a new feature by next week because they're coming out with the new version. And you have to halt everything you're doing, and you have to make everybody happy. People are on iPhone 4s all the way to 13s. And sometimes the 4s don't look right, and they're then slamming you with a negative review because something doesn't work on your app because it's hiding a button. And that has happened to us. You just have to think on your feet. As a leader of the platform, you see me pull on everywhere. I'm texting people back who have my cell phone. I'm emailing people back. And you can't just throw it to people when you're starting a brand like this. You can't I have a whole committee that will do that, costs money. And even if you spend 100,000 plus on one person, 2 people to do that, they still sometimes don't have the passion that the founder has building it. So sometimes they're not giving it the love and affection. So the beauty of Owwll is I'm everywhere. I'm dealing with issues. I'm dealing with upgrades, and I'm all over these clubhouse rooms because I believe that building it from the ground up will be the answer. Building it with a community of people that are in this audience that are listening right now, but also in Clubhouse today. They're on Zoom today, and we'll have things every single week. They're showing up because they want to be part of this early community from the early days. See where it's heading and how much impact it one day will have. That's where it's going. To impact millions of lives.
Bravo. Yeah. Yeah. Folks, thank you. Yeah. Thanks for the applause. Let me ask you this. Maybe we should remind people where they can go download it. If they want to at least check out the website. I know that there's a great explainer video. That's just owwll.com.
Owwll.com has the basics of how the app works. If you head over to YouTube and go to Owwll App, tons of videos. Look for the ones that have the highest view count. That will also explain how the app works. And the best thing to do is just get in there and make some calls. Once you make your first call, it's really simple. Call Paul Votto. If he charges $5, and boom, his phone rings. If he's active, and then once you get the hang of it, then you can head over to owwllacademy.com. One of our heaviest users built Owwll Academy out on himself. It didn't come from me. He just went out and built a bunch of videos on YouTube and explained how the platform works and what the best practices are for being an advice seeker or an advice giver or a networker at the end of the day. So I really tell everyone, go there, hear it from a user's perspective, not from me. For me, I could be trying to just push everyone to download the app, but this is coming from someone who's not getting paid a dime from me. He just did it all on his own, very similar to how people build LinkedIn courses or Instagram courses because they believe in it. And then they build a community around, obviously, some of the courses that they built. My advice, owwllacademy.com is there, or YouTube. And then, of course, I'm posting all the time on Instagram. Today, we have 15, 20 items in our Instagram story, plus the post, and then my LinkedIn account. The longer you follow us, you'll see new experts coming live. We post every new expert every week in our Instagram story. Best thing to do is call a new expert. Always remember you. They always remember, oh, the first person who called me on Owwll. You always share that journey with that individual and build a connection, which is really all Owwll is. It's a connection tool. A lot of people call it Connect Media for that reason. It's just a way to connect with individuals better than LinkedIn. LinkedIn 2.0, we're bringing good old socialization back, audio calls.
Wonderful. For those that are listening, either now or in the future, when I put this out as a podcast, it's Owwll with 2 W's and 2 L's. So owwll.com, and then same with Owwll Academy. Folks, head on over there. If you use the code VATO, the referral code VATO, that's how you'll get your $10. Whoop, whoop, or I should say hoot, hoot. That is on the Owwll app. The concept you came up with, Jason, is incredible. I think that this is something that's been sorely needed. And you're not being selfish in that oh, if you're on the app, you can only do business on the app. You realize that what business owners are going to do, what people in the industry are going to do, is use it to make a connection, just like LinkedIn, and then move it maybe off the platform. And you're okay with that. You encourage that almost, where make your connections here, feel safe, and then you can always move it over to Zoom or to your coaching program or whatever it is that you're an expert at.
Of course. I think I see a lawyer in the crowd. What's nice about calling lawyers is you could call 5, 6, get general advice, and then you could call them back and move over to a real meeting. Real engagement letter might be signed, and that lawyer might cost you $10,000 or whatever you're building, but at least you got that opportunity to vet a couple people, get advice that was general to start out with on the platform, and then eventually hire that individual. Or if it's a podcast, there's a lot of podcasters that help people start podcasts or monetize their podcast on our platform. And what better way to have natural conversations on Owwll and then run into a Zoom, right? Because at the end of the day, you get what you pay for. People value what they pay for. If everything's always free, we've seen what's going on in Clubhouse. There's been a mass exodus. We all love it. We fell in love with it in the early days because we all had our voice being heard and there was no followers. Because back then it was like everyone had 0 and we all signed up. We were all growing our following count, but in the early days, we all had to use our voice to be heard and we just listened. We got knowledge from what people were talking about. But over time, it became this whole thing about followers. And then people started to get annoyed. Hey, like, why do you think you're more powerful than me in this room just because you have 5,000 followers and I don't have enough time in a day because I run my business to jump in there to gain followers, but then I'm almost being shamed off the stage where I could only provide a question on stage. I can't give advice. I'm not allowed to. So Owwll starts back at just equal levels. You jump in an app and it's not about the follower count. Followers mean nothing on our app, right? It's just about having a conversation with someone that you have interest in chatting with. You see some of their hobbies or you see their expertise and you say, I always wanted to learn how to do TikTok. Let me call a TikTok expert and just pick their brain. And I think that's what it's all about. None of us know it all. We all learn so many little hacks today. I've learned so many. People through these Owwll calls be like, hey, have you ever thought about doing this on some of your Facebook posts? They see what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden, didn't realize that even existed. I shared it earlier in today's Clubhouse room, and I'll share it today. I spent years tagging people in Facebook groups. And then I am part of a different Facebook group from an Owwll member, and he kept going at everyone. And I never knew that you could do at everyone, and it pings every single person in your Facebook group. A part of me was like, you got to be kidding.
Wait, literally at the at symbol and the word everyone?
Yeah, in a Facebook group only. I couldn't believe it. So remember the post I did yesterday when I was speaking myself about launching the Owwll podcast? The algorithm on Facebook is horrible. When you have groups, very few people see the group unless you tag a bunch of people, they like it and they comment. And then I just put at everyone. We went from 10, 15 comments, and now we have over 100 comments because who would not want to be on a podcast as a guest or a host with somebody else? I know the back end of Owwll. What I'm doing behind the scenes is I'm looking at this person's background that said they wanted to be a guest on a podcast. And then I immediately know that Paul Otto hosts a podcast. I was like, this is a perfect fit. Paul's in the entertainment space. This person wants to be on a podcast. They're in the entertainment space. Let's match them. I matched people all day today, all day yesterday. Rebecca, I matched you a few times on there as well. You might have saw your name mentioned. And I just knew right off the bat, like the power of connecting people through that Facebook post and then sharing that they met on Owwll. So there you go. I learned something at everyone. I never knew about that. I've been using Facebook groups for years. And there's so many little hacks like that that we could learn from one another if we get each other on a one-on-one call because the group settings are so general, right? When you look at Clubhouse, it's like general. But when you get to a true conversation about what someone does, you can really dive deeper. And whatever that subject is, you use this app, right? I have no idea how to use this app. But I'm like, hey, I want to do a show. You could do this, do that on Fireside Chat. So I think it's so impactful to learn what others have been through. In my case, it might be about running an in-person podcast. It might be about creating an app and what you're about to do. And I could maybe save you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're going down the wrong path building an app, for example.
Wonderful. I don't know what Rebecca's doing here because she should be on Owwll because it's on there 24/7. Welcome, my neighbor. How are you, Rebecca?
Hi, they're Paul Votto living in Las Vegas, and we've never met, but I feel like we've met. I don't know how to make this a video because I wanted to.
I will invite you to video. My apologies.
Yeah,
There you are, my lovely.
hold on a second. Let me see. Oh no, I can't show this face. Coming. I wanted to share, Jason told you from the very beginning, this app is just genius. And I just want to share something personal that I've experienced, not only meeting people that I would have never met before, but people that have impacted my life in a way. And just like you said earlier about the TikTok, eventually I'm going to get into TikTok. And you said 30 to 60. I'm 66, Jason. I'm just letting you know, you have to make it a little bit higher, the demographic, 30 to 70 maybe, or maybe 75. But anyway, I got legal advice, music advice. It's just in an industry, TikTok, or whether it's a LinkedIn expert, or whether it's a small business expert, or whether it's an attorney, audio, it's invaluable what it offers. And one of the things that is just top on my list, talking about the reviews, my purpose and my destiny on this planet is to share with people what I've learned about this thing called happiness. It's not about what happens out there, it's an internal foundation. But enough with that. I have been sharing with people for 4 decades, but I have never received the reviews and the type of reviews that said, you have not, I don't want to say changed my life, but changed my perspective on how to view a certain situation. The reviews that I've received, sometimes if I really sit and read them, bring me to tears. And I mean that sincerely, because for me, I am bringing value. And that's what those reviews have done for me. I can't say enough good things about the app. And how the hell did Paul Votto get Votto for a referral code? And I have to put in a number. But anyway, did I say that out loud?
You are
So I just want-
leading the leaderboard, I believe, in points. I think it's time that you get your own code, Rebecca.
Oh, okay.
I have to make it a rule. Like you get to 100 calls and then you get the opportunity to change your code. Mine is Hoot. I changed mine to that recently. I just changed mine like 2 weeks ago. Forever, I had a code myself. But yes, we have to manually do it. So that's also why. So I'm trying not to push our developers to make those type of changes unless we have cool names like Bato, right?
I also want to say to Lily, the thing about public speaking or speaking, it's just about practice. Happiness is a practice skill, just like speaking or acting or being an athlete or musician. It's just practice. And the more you practice, the better you get at it. When I first started speaking, I couldn't put 3 minutes together. Now I can talk for an hour and 20 minutes to no one. But anyway, thank you for Owwll. I appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity for me to share.
Ladies and gentlemen, the hardest working brand ambassador on the Owwll platform. Greetings, my Vatos Locos, and welcome to another episode of Paul Vato Presents. I want to sincerely thank you for tuning in. People have been asking what they can do to help support our program. And well, the easiest way is to just head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a like, give us a follow, maybe leave us a review. Also, maybe head on over to Spotify and do the same thing. We're on all the podcasting platforms, so give us a like, give us a follow, share it with your friends. You can also head on over to paulvato.com, and from there you can follow us across all social media. There's also a link to our Patreon. So for $3, less than a cup of coffee a month, you can help support our program, and it would be really appreciated. So thank you for your time. And now back to Paul Vato Presents with our very special guest. Thank you.
The person from Place of Hope autographed the wall today. So there's my review. You could read that. It says, take the high road. So when you look at your reviews, and I'm going to look at this wall, people who come into the Shrimp Tank show or now the Owwll podcast show, they autograph it, they put a cool quote. And that's what you're saying. Educate people on taking a perspective. Why are they freaking out over something so basic and ruin their life and take all their energy away? And that's what we talked about today on our first Owwll podcast, is just sometimes just the hardest thing in life is taking the high road. And I would agree, right? People can't believe the emails I send back after they criticize Owwll. The funniest stuff. They're like, this is the worst app ever. I reached back myself. I'm like, sorry you feel that way. I'm going to provide you another $10 to give it a try. Call me. I'd love to share how the app really works and then they're just taken back. I've had people go from 1-star review to 5-star review and completely change their view of the platform because they never really experience it. They don't know what they're talking about. They're in a place that must be negative to go out of their way to shoot an email for no apparent reason to feedback@owwll.com. If they don't like it, they'll use it. Why would you go out of your way to say that?
Let me share this. What does the man with the hump in his back want more than anything else? The man that's walking with the hump in his back, what does he want more than anything else?
He wants some love and attention and kindness because people always make fun of him.
Paul, what is your answer?
2 humps?
He wants you to have the hump too. So just know that these angry people, these mad people, they're just sharing how they're feeling. And it's never personal, Jason. It's never personal.
Absolutely.
And with that, I'm going to drop the mic.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks for popping up. Wonderful. Yeah, that's it. People want to share their misery. It's not good, but we're all able to share it here. I was going to ask you about Shrimp Tank. Where can people find that podcast? Do they just look for Shrimp Tank?
I was dropping the mic for her. Naturally.
I had you set to little video, so I couldn't see that. It's funny.
Yeah, Shrimp Tank is shrimptankpodcast.com. And Shrimp Tank is a national franchise, approximately 10 cities currently. We run the Shrimp Tank one in South Florida in Boca Raton. And we have over 200 episodes up on our website where you get to learn what these entrepreneurs have been through from the early days. We get their stories about what it was like building their business and then expanding their business and what they've learned through failure and successes. So that way other entrepreneurs learn from them so they don't go down that same exact path. We see a lot of entrepreneurs that are stubborn. I think, no, I'm different. This wouldn't happen to me. And the truth of the matter is it will. There's a lot of holes in every business. It's really hard in the early days running a business with hiring the right people. That's the biggest issue. Today, it's extremely difficult to become a leader because once you go from a solo entrepreneur and have employees and have a team, being that leader that people want to come in daily to that office days or working remotely. There's so much remote work today. And really having the people around you that are going to support you day in and day out. So that way you can focus on growing the business. Otherwise, the business is going to shut down. You're going to run out of money, of course. So we've learned so much from these entrepreneurs. And it's important for people to hear those stories because sometimes they have it wrong, right? Social media will show this amazing lifestyle. The person that sold the business for $20 million and living in a nice house in Fort Lauderdale or Miami. But that's the end result they're seeing. They're not seeing the first 20 years, the first 10 years. They were driving the biggest piece of crap around town and people were making fun of them and could barely get gas in their car. And they were maxed out on credit card debt and loans and pretty much almost had to shut it down. But then they had the passion to keep going and the motivation and the patience and the chip on their shoulder to prove others wrong. So our episodes really dive very deep into them. They're an hour to an hour and a half long, typically all in person. So it's very natural, the conversation. And it's very similar to this studio. This is the original studio. We just took the banners down and put Owwll banners. This is it, right? Headsets, microphones. Listen to a couple and you'll see some amazing jerseys. We recently had a TRX founder. Have you been to any gym and used one of those straps? You could tell me and Paul don't enter many gyms, of course. We enter a lot of restaurants. TRX had 100 million of revenue and he exited the company in 2019. And it was such a cool story to hear how he ran that business and scaled it around the world.
Jason, a couple things. This is something new that I'm running by my guests. What would you think would be a good title for this episode?
Something around connection, right? When we look at Owwll, the only reason why we're on this podcast together or video show, whatever we want to call it, is because we took a step by chatting with one another. And then by chatting with one another, we realized that we had something in common and we had similar beliefs and a similar mission long term. So I would say something around the power of connecting and not judging and just talking. That's simple.
I love that. How using the Owwll app can help build connection. The Owwll connection. Okay, thank you. Thank you. And any final thoughts that you'd like to leave our audience with, Jason? Once again, thank you so much for taking time to do this. And thank you for having me as part of the Owwll Week. You know what? I think we should tell people what other things are going on this week and maybe touch base again on the charity that you've partnered up with, that we've partnered up with, but you're so graciously funding. When I say we, I mean your money. Thank you for sharing that. And what your promotions maybe that you're running. I don't know if that is out there, or is that only for brand ambassadors, the promotions that we talked about earlier?
We just put an announcement on the app. I'm sure you saw it. I sent it to all users, stated that if you put in a deposit, we will match you up to $100. So you put $100, you get $200. At the end of the week, I'll go in and add $100 to your account. That means really all calls are 50% off. And think about how many people have $1 to $10 listed on their profile. So it's such a good opportunity to get money into the platform now. These matches will not last forever, Paul. It's all my own capital going in. It's me to really push people to start looking at this platform as an alternative, right? Instead of sitting on LinkedIn and Instagram, messaging people, trying to get appointments, why would you not just call people that are live on Owwll? I'm really pushing people to look at that as how much more time can be saved if you spend a couple $1,000s through the platform versus hiring someone on LinkedIn to send you messages and automation. And then the end result is you get shitty meetings, a lot of crap. I've done that before. And on Owwll, you could really zone in on who you want to chat with. That's the first promotion, is we will give a bonus. The second thing is for every deposit that is done this week, I will be donating $10 to Place of Hope. When we get 1,000 deposits, it's going to be $10,000 that I'm going to cut a check to Place of Hope. Additionally, all revenue, our platform takes 20% for every call. So if there's a $100 call, right, we get $20 platform fee. We will donate all of that to Place of Hope. We're really trying to impact more and more people to really leverage the connection.
Wow, that is very generous. We lost you, Jason Hill. I don't know, folks, if we lost Jason, but definitely if you're listening to this now and you're here in the US, you can definitely go on over to owwll.com. That's with 2 W's and 2 L's. Use the code VATO. You go to the App Store, you go to Google Play, you use the code VATO, V-A-T-O, and you'll get your $10. I don't know if Jason's coming back. If not, we've had, I think, a wonderful show. Oh, some exciting news. Thanks to all that have been with me along this journey. On Good Pods, we were rated one of the top 10, both indie and network shows. Top 10 in comedy interviews, top 50 in comedy. This is going against everyone else, Joe Rogan, all the big podcasts. We're in the top 50. This is on Good Pods, which is a great podcasting community. If you guys love podcasts and you'd like to get recommended other podcasts, definitely download Good Pods. It's like Facebook for podcasting, or Goodreads, so it'll recommend things to listen to. It'll show what you've been listening to if you want, so that other people can also follow you. And then for some reason, people love Paul Votto Presents in Ireland. We made the top 250 podcasts in Ireland, which baffles me that it would be in Ireland. Top 250 comedy podcasts. Apparently, I'm just as funny as Irish people. And top 10% in the world on Listen Notes. So Paul Votto Presents is making some great strides. And I want to thank everyone that's been on the show, and Fireside for letting us do the show here and all that good stuff. If you go to paulvottopresents.com and give our show a like, a rating, a follow, that would be awesome. I almost said give me a rating that I deserve, but no, I'd rather have 5 stars. Ladies and gentlemen and everyone else that joined us, thank you so much for being here. I am Paul Votto Presents, and thank you for joining us for the first day of Owwll Week. And I hope to see you again next year during Owwll Week. Thank you, guys. Cheers. Bye. How do I end the show? End the show. There it is. Okay, folks. Goodbye.
En ese hombre holding up the bottle. Look a little closer, cigar and Moscato. An actor in improv coming from Chicago. Out make way for Paul Votto.